Hello and welcome. I'm Tanya Albornoz, Prevention Coordinator at the Utah State Board of Education. On behalf of the USBE Prevention Team, thank you for taking the time to review this presentation. The purpose of this session is to provide an overview of the material covered during the April 2025 prevention workshops. It is designed to provide information for both those who are unable to attend, as well as participants who would like a refresher on the content. This presentation will be especially helpful for individuals planning to attend the USBE prevention workshops in March of 2026, as it will prepare you for work related to your school's or LEA's comprehensive prevention plan. We hope that after viewing this presentation, you will have a foundational understanding of prevention science, implementation science, the USBE protective factor framework, and the requirements outlined in Utah Code and Board Rule related to prevention work in Utah schools. If you have any questions about the content covered in this presentation or would like to discuss any topic in more detail, please contact us at prevention@schools.utah.gov. You are also welcome to reach out directly to any member of the USBE prevention team by phone or email.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Stebbing, Prevention Specialist. We'd like to begin today's presentation with a foundational idea from two leading researchers in prevention science, Dr. J. David Hawkins and Dr. Richard Catalano. They state, risk and protective factor focused prevention is based on a simple premise. To prevent a problem from happening, we need to identify the factors that increase the risk of the problem developing and then find ways to reduce the risks. This quote captures the essence of prevention work. Prevention is not about reacting to problems after they occur. It is about being proactive. It involves identifying what places, individuals, families, or communities at risk, as well as what buffers or protects them. Understanding these factors allows us to design more effective interventions by reducing risk factors and increasing protective factors. Risk factors are characteristics or conditions that increase the likelihood of a negative outcome, such as substance use, violence, or dropping out of school. Examples include family management problems, low commitment to school, or association with peers who engage in risky behaviors. Protective factors, on the other hand, are strengths or supports that buffer individuals from risk and promote positive development. Examples include strong family bonds, cognitive, emotional, and social competence, and involvement in pro-social activities. To better understand and address these factors, they have been organized into 4 key domains: community, family, school, and individual peer. The next few slides highlight the work of Dr. Hawkins and Dr. Catalano. This slide shows a chart of community-level risk factors and how they relate to various behavioral and health concerns, such as substance use, delinquency, teen pregnancy, dropping out of school, violence, and depression and anxiety. One important thing to note is that not all risk factors apply to every behavior or health concern. For example, the availability of drugs may be a strong risk factor for substance use and violence, but not necessarily for depression. However, some risk factors appear across multiple problem behaviors and health concerns. These are known as shared risk factors. As we move to the next slide, we see that extreme economic deprivation is a shared risk factor for substance use, delinquency, teen pregnancy, dropping out of school, and violence. This concept of shared risk factors is powerful because it means that when we target a single risk factor, such as improving neighborhood attachment or shifting community norms, we can potentially influence multiple outcomes at once. Now let's shift our focus to the school domain. Just as in the community, schools can be environments that either increase risk or promote protection. Risk factors in the school setting may include academic failure or low commitment to school. These factors can contribute to a range of negative outcomes, including substance use and school dropout. However, schools also have significant potential to reduce these risks. Consider the influence you have in your role. What supports can you put in place to help prevent academic failure? How can you help students see the relevance of school and increase their motivation to stay engaged? We'll explore protective factors in more detail in the upcoming slides, but for now, it's important to emphasize that when students feel connected, supported, and engaged, they are more likely to thrive. Now, let's examine the family domain, which plays a critical role in shaping a young person's development and behavior. Family risk factors include family history of the behavior or health concern, family management problems, family conflict, favorable parental attitudes toward involvement in the behavior. So what can educators do to support this domain? While educators cannot directly change what happens at home, they can reduce risk by building strong positive relationships with their students and their families, communicating regularly and sharing helpful resources, creating opportunities for families to participate in school activities. When educators partner with families and offer support, they help buffer risk factors and strengthen protective factors, extending positive impact beyond the classroom. The final domain we'll examine is the individual and peer domain, which includes personal characteristics, behaviors, and social influences that can increase risk. Risk factors in this domain include early and persistent antisocial behavior, rebelliousness, association with peers who engage in problem behavior, favorable attitudes toward problem behavior, early initiation of the behavior, and constitutional factors. We invite you to reflect on how you can help reduce risks within the individual and peer domain in your own sphere of influence. Now that we've explored risk factors, let's shift our focus to protective factors, the strengths and supports that help buffer youth from risk and promote healthy development. This slide highlights 3 protective factors that are present across the family, school, and community domains. Opportunities for positive social involvement when youth are provided with meaningful opportunities to participate, such as helping at home, joining a school club, or volunteering in the community, they feel valued and connected. Recognition for positive behavior. Acknowledging and reinforcing positive behavior helps build self-esteem and encourages continued engagement in healthy behaviors. Bonding to prosocial others. When youth feel connected to caring and responsible individuals such as family members, teachers, mentors, or peers, they are more likely to adopt prosocial behaviors. These protective factors are powerful because they are shared across domains. Strengthening them in one area, such as school, can also lead to positive effects in family and community settings. Protective factors in the individual domain include cognitive competence, emotional competence, social and behavioral competence, belief in the future, self-determination, prosocial norms, and spirituality. As you reflect on your prevention work, consider what actions you can take to strengthen protective factors within the individual and peer domain.
My name is Mindy Elliott, Prevention Specialist. This is the Protective Factor Framework. This evidence-informed framework used by USBE as the foundation for prevention work is a powerful tool for promoting student well-being and academic success by focusing on the 5 key factors that help children and families thrive. Rather than viewing these factors as abstract ideas, think of them as a roadmap for building a school community where every student feels safe, supported, and ready to learn. By implementing this framework, schools can move from a reactive approach to a proactive, prevention-focused strategy that supports both academic success and student health and safety. The first protective factor is concrete supports in times of need. This refers to the tangible resources and support systems that provide stability for students and families when they need assistance. It focuses on meeting basic needs such as food, housing, and healthcare. When these supports are in place, stress is reduced, stress that can otherwise interfere with learning and contribute to negative outcomes. Schools play a vital role in supporting this factor. They can conduct resource assessments, intentionally teach self-advocacy skills, and foster a culture where seeking help is seen as a strength. By connecting students to resources such as counseling centers, teen centers, or school social workers, schools can empower students and families to access support. For administrators and teachers, it is important to reflect on whether students' basic needs are being met and whether students feel safe and connected at school. Teachers can watch for patterns that may signal a need for support, such as chronic fatigue, hunger, or hygiene concerns. Schools can also partner with organizations such as Utah 211, Utah's Against Hunger, and the Utah Food Bank. USBE also supports schools through the Child Nutrition Program. The next protective factor is knowledge of development. This involves understanding how children grow and learn at different stages, including the impact trauma and substance use on developing brain. When students understand that intelligence and abilities can grow with effort, they are more likely to persevere and succeed. While adverse childhood experiences may negatively affect learning, positive childhood experiences can help mitigate these effects. Schools support this factor by helping parents, educators, and students understand child and adolescent development and by implementing trauma-sensitive practices. Administrators and teachers can reflect on whether school policies and discipline practices align with developmental and trauma-informed approaches and whether instructional strategies promote a growth mindset. The third protective factor is social connections. These relationships provide emotional support and foster a sense of belonging and safety. Strong social connections reduce isolation, which is a significant risk factor for many student challenges. Schools can support this by helping students build social skills and fostering a culture of connectedness. Administrators should consider whether every student has a trusted adult at school, while teachers can reflect on which student may need additional support in building relationships and how they can demonstrate care for both students' academic and personal growth. The fourth protective factor is resilience, the ability to cope with and recover from stress and adversity. When students develop resilience, they are better able to manage challenges and maintain hope for the future. Schools can promote resilience by adopting a strength-based culture and teaching skills, such as problem-solving, self-care, and coping strategies. Administrators can reflect on policies that support resilience building for both staff and students, while teachers can identify students who may need targeted supports and intentionally recognize students' strengths. The final protective factor is cognitive, emotional, and social competence. This includes executive functioning skills for learning, as well as emotional regulation and relational skills. Students cannot effectively access learning when they are dysregulated or in survival mode. Schools support this factor by providing opportunities for students to learn and practice these skills both directly and indirectly. Examples include cognitive skills, such as goal setting, problem solving, decision making, critical thinking, and self-control. Social skills, such as communication, relationship building, assertiveness, self-advocacy, and refusal skills. Emotional competence, emotional awareness, regulation, empathy, self-efficacy, positive coping. Administrators should consider what support staff need to integrate skill building into the school day, while teachers can identify students who need additional support and tailor instruction accordingly. Together, these 5 protective factors provide a comprehensive approach to ensuring students are academically successful, healthy, resilient, and prepared for life's challenges. When schools focus on strengthening these interconnected factors, they create environments where students can truly thrive.
Next, we will provide an overview of the Comprehensive Prevention Plan and review the basics of implementation science model, which is used to ensure prevention programs are implemented effectively. A comprehensive prevention plan is a strategic framework developed by an LEA or a school to reduce risk factors and strengthen protective factors for students and staff. It incorporates evidence-based practices and data-driven decision-making to address the unique needs of the school or LEA. By focusing on root causes, the plan aims to create sustainable, long-term change. When implemented effectively, it promotes health and safety for all students and fosters a positive school culture and climate. Key components of a comprehensive prevention plan include clear, data-informed goals developed with key stakeholder input. The objectives of a plan should be in SMART goal format, meaning specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The plan should also include specific evidence-based strategies, a list of current and needed resources, and who is responsible for implementing and monitoring each goal. These plans do not need to be complex. They should be focused and actionable to provide a clear map of what the school or LEA would like to accomplish with their prevention efforts. The LEAs applying for the Prevention Block Grant under Utah Code 53F-2-525 requires a submission of a comprehensive prevention plan. The plan must address state-mandated prevention efforts, including substance use prevention, suicide prevention, and positive behavior plans. The comprehensive prevention plan that is submitted for the block grant is also required to outline information on how the LEA will address the impact of childhood trauma on learning and how it will advise educators to comply with the state laws against practicing medicine, giving a diagnosis, or providing treatment. Additionally, the plan must include information on how the LEA will build resiliency skills in students. Lastly, the plan should be designed with input from parents, students, educators, and support staff. USBE staff are available to help design, review, or provide feedback on your comprehensive prevention plan, and we will be providing this opportunity for LEAs at the March 2026 workshops. We have also created both an example plan and a template you can use to design your own comprehensive prevention plan on the USBE Prevention website under Prevention Block Grant Application Resources. The March 2026 workshops will provide a deeper instruction on how to design and effectively plan. One helpful point to keep in mind is that schools and LEAs can leverage comprehensive prevention planning to bring together initiatives that you are already working on. Pause this presentation now or take some time afterwards to consider how LEA or school-wide prevention efforts, such as those listed here, can align with or be incorporated into your plan. Next, we'll take a closer look at the USBE Implementation Science Model. This framework serves as a blueprint for planning and implementing prevention and school-based mental health initiatives. You may recognize it from Utah School Behavioral Health Toolkit, Trauma-Sensitive Schools Training, and other prevention efforts. This model is adapted from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration Strategic Prevention Framework. Its purpose is to support administrators in sustainably implementing effective programs and interventions that address complex behavioral health and student wellness needs within the educational setting. The model offers a well-tested scientific process that supports LEAs in meeting students' emotional, social, and behavioral needs. It includes 5 stages and 4 guiding principles, which we will review in detail. While there is no one-size-fits-all for every LEA, this framework provides a flexible process for addressing diverse needs. Implementation can take years. However, even when time is limited, the model serves as a guide to ensure prevention efforts are intentional and strategic.
Hi, I'm Kathy Davis, Prevention Specialist. First, we will review 4 guiding principles that should be considered, planned for, and integrated into every stage of implementation. Culture. Each LEA has a unique culture. This principle emphasizes the importance of understanding and effectively interacting with the diverse populations within a school community and responding to the individual needs of the LEA's unique culture and climate. Data. This principle highlights the importance of gathering and using data to guide decision-making throughout implementation. Data analysis is about more than numbers. It is about identifying the stories, trends, and the patterns the data reveal. Collaboration. This principle reflects the value of community partnerships and the importance of identifying and collaborating with all relevant stakeholders, including families and students. Stakeholders are viewed as true partners, and their input is critical throughout the entire process. Without stakeholder voice and engagement, success is limited. Sustainability. This principle recognizes the need to build adaptive and effective processes that achieve long-term results and endure despite challenges, barriers, and system change. Now that we have reviewed the importance of culture, data, collaboration, and sustainability, we will move on to the 5 stages of the implementation science model. The first stage is assessment of system needs, which involves identifying local needs using both qualitative and quantitative data, along with stakeholder input. A well-informed assessment helps answer key questions such as, what problems do we need to address? Who needs to be involved in helping us understand these issues? How do we involve them? Consider what data is available at the school or district level. This includes both quantitative and qualitative sources. Examples of quantitative data include the SHARP survey, early warning system data, attendance data, and discipline data, such as office referrals. Qualitative data includes feedback and comments from staff, parents, and students with attention to recurring themes or patterns. This feedback can be gathered through student councils, PTA meetings, staff meetings, and similar venues. This slide includes several questions to guide prevention planning and the development of a comprehensive prevention plan. When considering protective factors, we use a strength-based lens, identifying what is working well and how it can be strengthened. Next, consider which protective factors may be weaker for the majority of students in your school. What action steps can faculty and administrators take to strengthen those areas? And then finally, reflect on which risk factors are most common in your school and how your plan can work to reduce those risks. It is also important to identify top concerns such as absenteeism, bullying, childhood trauma, disruptive behaviors, gang involvement, mental health challenges, substance use, and suicidal behavior. The assessment process helps triage concerns and determine which issues are most urgent to address through prevention efforts. Building capacity is the second stage. This stage focuses on identifying current resources and readiness for implementation, as well as strengthening existing resources to address needs identified in the assessment. This is also the stage where schools and LEAs research effective prevention activities aligned with identified needs. Resources may include the What Works Clearinghouse, the Utah State Board of Education, peer LEAs, and other states. Key questions at this stage include: what resources do we currently have within our school or LEA? What additional resources could be utilized? What support is available from USBE or other LEAs? What activities are needed to build readiness for prevention efforts? How can stakeholders be involved in building readiness? What cultural considerations should be accounted for within the school or LEA? Take an inventory of what is already in place to address student needs, such as required elements of positive behavior plans and suicide prevention programs. This slide includes questions to consider at this stage. Existing program requirements can often be leveraged to strengthen comprehensive prevention efforts. As capacity is built, consider whether existing community partners can support the comprehensive prevention plan. Also, reflect on professional learning opportunities that may strengthen staff capacity and program effectiveness. This slide highlights 6 evidence-based program directories that demonstrate strong outcomes. Evidence-based programs supported by USBE include Check and Connect from the University of Minnesota, Botfin Life Skills Training, Sources of Strength. We also encourage you to take advantage of professional learning opportunities provided by USBE. For more information on these resources, contact us at preventionatschools.utah.gov. USBE has developed multiple toolkits to support LEAs in prevention planning. For example, LEAs experiencing chronic absenteeism may benefit from the Attendance Toolkit and the Everyday Counts campaign resources. Additional toolkits are currently in development and will be released soon. Information about these resources will be shared through the USBE Prevention Listserv. This slide outlines several funding sources available through USBE. All LEAs receive Positive Behavior Plan funding, $4,000 per school, and suicide prevention funding, $1,000 per school, at the beginning of each fiscal year, typically distributed through the September or October allotment memo. Please reach out with any questions regarding these funding opportunities.
Hello, my name is Michelle Knight, Prevention Specialist. We now move into the third stage, planning. Planning brings together information from the assessment and building capacity stages. Once needs, resources, and effective strategies are identified, LEAs can design a thoughtful, strategic plan tailored to their school or district context. Jumping into planning without completing earlier groundwork may feel productive, but it rarely leads to sustainable change. Key planning questions include: what strategies will we use and how will they be implemented? How do we ensure the plan aligns with our school culture and climate? Who needs to be involved in the planning process, and how will collaboration occur? What data will be collected and reviewed? What structures are needed to ensure long-term sustainability? Planning is about shaping intentional, context-specific approaches that support effective implementation. When planning prevention activities, it is especially important to be thoughtful and intentional, as these efforts often support students during vulnerable moments. Consider, how can we help students gain skills? What protective factors should we increase? What evidence-based programs and best practices would we like to implement? What programs, best practices, clubs, service opportunities, or other pro-social opportunities do parents, students, and staff prefer? As you plan, reflect on how prevention efforts help students build skills, how these skills are taught, practiced, reinforced, and celebrated across daily routines, classroom instruction, school events, and peer interactions. Also, consider any unique skill gaps within your student population. As planning continues, the guiding questions on this slide help ensure alignment with school needs and compliance with Utah law. What professional development opportunities will we provide where personnel can learn about the impact of childhood trauma on student learning, while also including information advising educators against practicing medicine, giving a diagnosis, or providing treatment? What opportunities will we provide where parents and others can learn about the impact of childhood trauma on student learning? The Protective Factors Framework is an essential tool during the planning phase. It supports a holistic approach focused on academic success, resilience, and family and student strengths. Consider how your plan addresses social and emotional competence, knowledge of development, supportive adult-child relationships, family engagement and social connections, concrete supports and help-seeking skills, student resilience. Using this framework ensures prevention plans are proactive, protective, and grounded in what helps students thrive. We've now arrived at the fourth stage, implementation. This is where the plan is put into action and evidence-based or evidence-informed strategies are delivered. Implementation requires intention and attention to fidelity, ensuring the program or strategy is carried out as designed, since fidelity often impacts outcomes. It's also important to be aware of challenges and barriers that arise. Unexpected obstacles are normal, and we want to be responsive rather than reactive. Continually check in with stakeholders. What are they seeing? Is the program working in your context? Does it fit your staff, students, and community? And always ask, what is needed to sustain the work long-term? Sustainability begins during implementation, not after. Helpful questions at this stage include, how do we put the plan into action effectively? What modifications might need to be made? What are stakeholders telling us? Does this even work for them? What additional strategies or resources are needed for sustainability? Implementation is active, reflective, and iterative. It's where we learn what's working, adjust where needed, and build momentum. Additional implementation questions include, who are we targeting? How are we selecting participants? Where will the plan be implemented? And when will the plan be implemented? These questions help you stay grounded and responsive throughout the process. Implementation isn't just about following the plan. It's about being present and flexible. That may mean making thoughtful adjustments, listening closely to staff and students, or identifying additional supports or resources. As you focus on the implementation phase, here are some further questions to consider. How will we encourage student, parent, and school personnel participation? What barriers might we encounter, and how will we overcome them? What mechanisms ensure fidelity to the implementation of the plan? Reflecting on these questions helps ensure the process stays on track and responsive to your school community's needs. Finally, we come to the fifth stage, evaluation. This stage examines how implementation went and what outcomes the programs and practices achieved. We ask, are we succeeding in addressing the issue we set out to tackle? How can we tell? What data or feedback shows what's working well? What might be missing or falling short? What changes or improvements are needed moving forward? Evaluation is a vital part of the continuous improvement cycle, helping refine approaches and strengthen impact over time. As you focus on evaluating prevention activities, here are some key evaluation questions to include. What is the data telling us about protective and risk factors? How can we use the data to evaluate the effectiveness of the plan? Is the plan having the desired effect? What changes need to be made to influence risk and protective factors? Additional considerations include, could we consider third-party evaluation for program effectiveness? How will we ensure stakeholder input is continually gathered and included? It's important to distinguish between outputs and outcomes. Outputs measure what we do, activities or services delivered, such as program hours or number of students participating. Outcomes measure the impact, such as improved attendance, grades, or reductions in bullying. Both are important. Here's an example to help understand the differences. Here's the problem. Our school faces high levels of bullying. The outputs are our school implements a bullying prevention program, delivering 20 hours of training and engaging 150 students. The outcomes are reported bullying incidents have decreased by 30%, and students report feeling safer. In this case, the outputs are what we did, our training hours, and the number of students we reached. The outcomes are the differences we made, the reduction in bullying and safer school climate. Understanding this difference helps us focus not just on activity completion, but on meaningful, measurable impact. Evaluation also includes two types of processes: formative and summative. Formative evaluation measures impact and effectiveness during implementation. It helps determine whether adjustments are needed and often focuses on outputs. It may include satisfaction surveys, interviews with students, staff, and parents. Summative evaluation determines whether desired outcomes are achieved and whether overall implementation is successful. Outcomes may be short-term or long-term. Short-term outcomes appear sooner and are often visible at the individual or small group level. Long-term outcomes take more time and are visible in aggregate data. Short-term outcomes are often easier to identify when looking at individual students or a small group of students. For example, improvements in a student's behavior, increased engagement, or better coping skills after an intervention. You may also observe decreased risk factors for targeted students, increased protective factors, and changes in behavior, such as improved grades and attendance. Long-term outcomes, however, typically take more time to emerge and are most visible when looking at broader aggregate data, like overall improvements in school attendance rates, reductions in bullying incidents, or graduation rates. Regularly reviewing both short and long-term outcomes provides a full picture of impact and supports informed decisions about adjustments and sustainability. As administrators understand and apply the stages of principles of the implementation science model, they become better equipped to identify key issues and individualize plans that meet the unique needs of their students. This framework is not a linear path, but an ongoing cyclical process. Needs evolve, communities change, and circumstances shift, meaning you may move back and forth between stages. Using this framework flexibly allows you to adapt to changing realities and ensures programs, interventions, and activities remain relevant and effective. As policies and situations change, it is critical to stay aware and make necessary adjustments so efforts remain aligned with current requirements and best practices.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We're excited to continue this journey with you and hope to see you at the March Prevention Workshops. We believe the workshops will benefit both administrators preparing to apply for the Prevention Block Grant, as well as those working in schools who want dedicated time to develop a strong, effective prevention plan. If you have not yet registered, please visit our Prevention Professional Learning page to complete your registration at the location most convenient for you. We hope today's session has provided valuable insights to support your understanding of prevention basics, implementation science, the USBE Protective Factor Framework, and the requirements in Utah Code and Board Rule. Your work makes a real difference, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have questions or want to connect, please email us at prevention@schools.utah.gov or reach out to any member of the prevention team by phone or email. Thank you again for your commitment to creating safe and supportive learning environments. Have a wonderful day.